It's 2:17 a.m. The house is quiet, not peaceful. Quiet like a hospital hallway. You wake up with that cold drop in your gut. Not from a sound, from a feeling, a warning, like a smoke alarm you can't hear, but your body can. You reach for your phone, thumb shaking. You open the banking app. It loads, slow, slower than it ever loads. Then a message appears. Temporary security review. Scheduled outage. Polite words, soft words. The kind of words written by people who will never miss a meal. Now imagine this. You put on your shoes. You drive to the ATM. It's lit up. It hums. It looks normal. You slide your card in. You type your PIN. You tap withdraw. And it spits out. Nothing. No cash. Just a receipt. Balance available. But no access. Like a lifeboat you can see but can't climb into. That's the real fear. Not losing money on paper. Losing control in real life. And today, Silver flashed a red alert. Not a little one, a loud one. Because after getting smashed, Silver snapped back hard. The kind of violent move you don't see in a calm system. You see it in a rigged casino, where the rules change mid-hand, and the house always wins. Here's what they won't say on the evening news. That crash wasn't just volatility. It was a message, a stress test, a rehearsal, a shakeout, a way to rip the steering wheel from the public and remind everyone who drives. Because the system needs you asleep. If you're awake, you don't play their game. And everything you've been told about safety, about guarantees, about the government has your back, it's a bedtime story for grown adults, for retirees, for people who did everything right and still got cheated. Today's move changed everything because it exposed the truth. Silver isn't acting like a simple commodity. It's acting like an escape hatch, like a lifeboat in open water, like the last door out of a burning building. And the Titanic? It didn't hit an iceberg once. It hit it again. Now listen closely. I'm not here to entertain you. I'm here to warn you. Because what just happened in Silver is what happens right before the crowd finally notices the ship is tilting. First they deny, then they laugh, then they panic, then it's too late. So let me show you the mechanism. Not feelings, not opinions, mechanics. Because once you see the machine, you can't unsee it. And that's when you stop being part of the sleeping herd. You become one of the awakened few, the ones who don't need permission to survive. Start with the first mechanism. Leverage, paper leverage. Silver can be traded with a click, a contract, a promise, a number in a digital box. And when the market gets stressed, that paper world starts to crack because paper positions get financed, borrowed, stacked, restacked, like a tower of poker chips. And when the dealer taps the table, the tower falls. That's what forced selling really is. It's not someone choosing to sell. It's someone being dragged out of the trade. Margin calls, liquidations, contracts dumped to raise cash, not because silver became worthless, because the paper crowd got squeezed. That's why you see gut punch drops, and that's why you see face-ripping rebounds. That snapback is a symptom of stress, of cracks, of a system that can't stay calm because it's overloaded. Now the second mechanism, debt. This is where the trap is built. Debt isn't just a number, debt is a leash. Debt is the chain on your ankle, and the people running this system have loaded the ship with debt until it's riding low in the water. So low that one strong wave can pour over the deck. And here's the part that should make you furious. They do it while telling you to be responsible. They do it while telling you to tighten your belt. They do it while raising your taxes, raising your bills, and shrinking your buying power. They do it while smiling at cameras. They do it while you count pennies at the grocery store. And the debt isn't slowing down, it's accelerating. That means one thing, they can't pay it back honestly, so they pay it back quietly, by devaluing what you hold, by turning your saved dollars into sand. You feel it every week, the same cart of groceries, the same fuel, the same medicine. But the total is higher, not because you suddenly got rich, because your dollar got weaker. That's the hidden tax, inflation. And debt is the engine. Now the third mechanism, the so-called safety net. They want you to believe the system has padding, a net below the tightrope. They want you to believe that if something goes wrong, someone will cover it, someone will step in, and someone will make you whole. Here's the truth. The net is a costume, a prop. It works when one small bank trips. It fails when the crowd runs for the exit. Because banking, as it exists today, is not a vault system. It's an IOU system. Your money isn't sitting in a box with your name on it. It's being used, loaned, leveraged. And what you have is a promise, a number on a screen. And promises are only as strong as the people forced to keep them. Now burn this into your brain. This isn't a theory. This is math. If enough people demand cash at the same time, if enough banks wobble at the same time, if enough credit breaks at the same time, no fund, no agency, no press conference, no emergency meeting can instantly cover a nationwide stampede. Because stampedes don't wait for paperwork. Stampedes don't care about speeches. Stampedes do one thing: they run. And when the crowd runs, the exits get smaller, the doors get locked, the rules change overnight. That's not paranoia, that's history. Now, the fourth mechanism, the silver market itself. You need to understand this because it's the heart of today's red alert. Silver lives in two universes: paper silver and physical silver. Paper silver is easy: a click, a contract, a promise. Physical silver is heavy, it clinks, it scratches, it has weight, it has presence, it's real. And when stress hits the system, paper claims multiply, while physical supply does not. That's the difference. Paper can be created. Ounces cannot. That's why inventory matters. Because inventories are like lifeboats on the deck. When registered supplies shrink, it's like watching lifeboats disappear one by one. And once the crowd realizes there aren't enough lifeboats, panic doesn't start slowly, it starts all at once. That's why today's move matters. Because a violent rebound after a violent drop tells you something. It tells you the paper game is unstable. It tells you there's too much leverage. It tells you the price is being whipped, not discovered. It tells you the system is shaking. Now comes the trap. Because they don't fix problems. They manage perception. They don't build lifeboats. They repaint the ship and tell you it's safer. They hold a press conference. They roll out a new program. They rename the crisis. They hand you a brochure. And behind the curtain, the same machine keeps grinding. More control, more tracking, more rules, less freedom. And here's where you need to be brutally honest with yourself. If the system gets cornered, it will not protect your lifestyle. It will protect itself. Imagine this. You go to buy gas, your card works, but the pump stops at $10, not because you ran out of money, because your limit changed. A new policy, a new cap, a new temporary measure to stabilize the economy. Imagine this. You go to the grocery store. The shelves look stocked, but your purchase gets flagged because you bought too much meat, too much canned food, too much anything that looks like preparation. Imagine this. Your pension hits your account. You exhale, finally. Then your app shows a new message. Funds available, subject to stabilization measures. Don't tell yourself it can't happen to you, because the moment debt becomes unpayable, the moment inflation becomes unstoppable, the moment confidence breaks, they reach for the only tool they have left: control. That's why you hear more talk about fully digital money, money that lives inside the system, money that can be tracked, money that can be approved, money that can be denied, programmable money, and the sleeping herd will clap because it's wrapped in safety. But you're not the sleeping herd. You're here because you feel it. Something is off. The numbers don't match the speeches. The groceries don't match the headlines. The reality doesn't match the promises. Now loop back to silver. Why does silver matter in this trap? Because silver is one of the few things that can live outside the permission system. Not perfectly, not magically, but in a way paper promises cannot imitate. Silver is used, consumed. Industrial demand is real, and when panic hits, silver becomes money in people's minds again. That's why it can crash and rebound like a spring under pressure. That's why it acts like a pressure valve that can't decide whether to explode or launch. And here's the part they hate. When people start choosing physical metal, they're choosing exit. They're choosing independence. They're choosing a life raft they can touch. So the rules get weird. The price gets whipped. The headlines get dismissive. Because volatility scares people back into the cage. While the band keeps playing. In today's move, it was like the lights flickering. A reminder. This ship can lose power. Fast. Imagine this. Then, review becomes 48 to 72 hours. But the bill is due today. The pharmacy is due today. The gas tank is empty today. That's how control works. Not with soldiers, with delays, with processing, with polite little cages made of paperwork. And if you think I'm exaggerating, ask yourself this. Why do banks close when fear rises? Why do governments talk about bank holidays like it's a normal tool? Because time is the weapon. Delay the crowd. Slow the stampede. Let the insiders move first. Now, let's get even more concrete about silver. Silver isn't just a metal. It's a workhorse. It's in electronics, in solar panels, in medical tools, in batteries, in the things your modern life depends on. So when the world builds more tech, silver gets consumed. It doesn't politely return to a vault. It gets used up, scattered. And when supply gets tight while demand stays real, paper promises get shakier. That's when the paper world starts doing acrobatics. But the physical world stays physical, heavy, limited, real. And here's the moment that changes people It's not a headline, it's a line outside a coin shop. Gray hair, working hands, tired eyes, all asking the same question. Do you have any silver left? And the clerk says, not at that price. Or worse, not at all. That's what shortages look like in the real world. A closed sign, an empty shelf, a limit per customer. And in that moment, the sleeping herd wakes up. Too late. Because when everyone wants the lifeboat at once, the lifeboat is gone. That's why the smart move is boring, quiet, early, a few ounces at a time, not to get rich, to stay unbroken, to stay untrapped, to stay able to say no. Because no is what they want to take from you. And we don't do that. Not us, not the awakened few. So what's the exit? Keep it simple, not complicated, not fancy, not a hot tip. Survival, freedom, bearer assets, assets you own, not assets someone else promises you own. Because here's the ugliest phrase in finance, counterparty risk. That's the silent killer. It means your asset depends on someone else performing, someone else paying, someone else honoring the deal, someone else staying solvent, someone else not freezing accounts, someone else not changing the rules. Your retirement account, counterparty risk. Your bank deposit, counterparty risk. Your bond fund, counterparty risk. Your online metals account that you can't touch, counterparty risk. Because if you can't take delivery, if you can't hold it, if you can't move it without permission, then it's not fully yours, it's theirs. You're renting it. Now compare that to physical silver, a real coin, a real bar, in your possession. No password, no app, no scheduled maintenance, no silent freeze. That's why people say, be your own central bank. Because central banks don't hold promises. They hold reserves. They hold assets with no one else's signature required. And you can build your own reserve, quietly, piece by piece, not to brag, not to gamble, to protect what you already earned. Now listen, this is not about predicting the exact price next week. This is about understanding the direction of the system. Debt is compounding. Inflation is biting. Markets are whipping. And every time the machine shakes, the people holding only paper get reminded of a hard truth. Paper burns. Now picture two retirees. Same age, same neighborhood, same lifetime of work, same dreams, same hope of peace. One stays inside the system completely. All digital, all paper, all trust. The other builds a hedge, a stack. Not huge, not flashy, just enough. Enough to matter, enough to breathe, enough to have options. Now imagine this. A new rule hits on a Friday afternoon. A temporary measure. Withdrawals limited, transfers delayed. A bank holiday weekend. The first retiree is stuck. They can't move, they can't pivot, they can't act. They're trapped in the casino while the house locks the doors. The second retiree still has a lever, still has mobility, still has a form of money that doesn't need permission. That's the difference, not luxury. Leverage, options, freedom. And if you're thinking, but silver just crashed, doesn't that prove it's risky? No, it proves it matters. It proves the paper market is so leveraged that when pressure hits, it slams down. And when the pressure releases, it rips up. That's not a normal commodity, that's a monetary metal under strain. And in this strain, physical is the point. Because paper can be printed, but ounces can't. And when the gap between paper claims and real supply becomes obvious, that's when the public stampede begins. And stampedes don't send polite warnings, they trample. So here's the mindset shift. Stop thinking like an investor chasing gains, start thinking like a survivor protecting ground. Gold and silver aren't trades, they're insurance, they're lifeboats. You don't buy a lifeboat after the ship splits in half. You buy it while the deck is still dry, and the crowd is still dancing. Now I'm going to make this painfully clear. No one is coming to save you. Not the politicians, not the talking heads, not the banks, not the agencies. When the system protects itself, it will call it stability. When it limits you, it will call it safety. When it tracks you, it will call it security. When it takes value from your savings, it will call it normal. But you will feel it in your pantry, in your tank, in your medicine cabinet, in your stress, in your sleep. And that's why today's silver move matters. Because it's not just about price, it's about pressure, it's about confidence. It's about the public slowly realizing that money is becoming a permission slip, and physical assets are becoming freedom. So what do? You stop being naive. You stop trusting slogans. You stop thinking, it can't happen here. You prepare like an adult, quietly, seriously, now. Learn the difference between paper silver and physical silver. Understand counterparty risk. Think about being your own central bank. Because if the next crisis hits and the ATM goes dark, you don't want to be the person standing in line, staring at a screen, praying. You want to be the person who already built options. And if you want to stay awake, if you want to see the moves before the crowd does, subscribe to AG Repeter, not for entertainment, for survival. Because the next time the system flickers, The people who prepared won't be panicking. They'll be moving. And the people who didn't, they'll be standing there with a receipt that says balance available and no access. One last thought. A lifeboat looks expensive, right up until the water hits your ankles.